Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like this video, or don't, whatever. People ask me, they say to me, do you really believe that we live in a fascist state? And I say to them, do you really believe that we don't live in a fascist state? Yesterday, strikes happened. 1.5 million people went on strike, and the response from the government is not, oh, I wonder what they're angry about. I wonder why they're willing to, you know, put their jobs at risk, lose money. What? Oh, they must be angry about something. No, they're just greedy. David Cameron's answer to the strikes was to propose new laws to make it harder for them to strike, make it harder for unions to unionise, to get together, put pressure on union bosses. And in the same day, we get this overarching, huge, spying, surveillance law rushed through Parliament, announced, and they're going to rush it through in the last few days of Parliament. And I think to myself, what? I wonder if there's any precedent in recent European history for leaders to criminalise unions, to try and destroy unions, and at the same time spy on its citizens, and at the same time militarise the police and give heavier weapons to the police. I wonder if there's any recent German history that has the same kind of pattern that we're going towards. Nah, it must just be a coincidence. Yeah, I believe that we live in a fascist state. I mean, if, for example, austerity, take away the question in your mind whether austerity is a lie. For an instant, just assume that austerity is a lie, which I believe it is a lie. I don't know if you believe it's a lie. Assume for a second that it is a lie, and think to yourself, if it's a lie, why are they doing it? They're doing this on purpose. They are purposely punishing people. They are purposely persecuting the poor, the disabled, the needy, you know, the blacks, the immigrants, these small minority groups. They're doing this on purpose. They want to create division. How is that? It's just, they know that if they don't have this division, they don't watch us 24/7. They don't stomp out the unions. We will rise up and we will stomp them. And they are quaking in their boots. You don't spy on your own citizens because you think that 1 in 2 million of them are going to be a terrorist. They're trying to say that it's terrorism. Just don't believe that lie. Just don't even for a second believe that lie, that they're doing it for our benefit. They're doing it for their benefit, to safeguard their establishment, to ring-fence the elite, to keep us like an invisible ideological barrier between us and them. That's what they want, and that's what this surveillance is. It's sickening. Like, don't for a second believe that it's for our own good. I mean, as Edward Snowden taught us nothing, that we were already being pretty much comprehensively spied on anyway, but yet all this terrorism is still happening. I mean, they're still getting Muslims teaching us radicalising schools, apparently. I mean, if they're watching all this to try and catch criminals, why are there still Westminster paedophile rings? Why is there still massive banking fraud? Why is there still politicians corrupt with conflicts of interest? You'd have thought all this GCHQ and NSA spying would pretty much get to the bottom of this. I'm assuming after they pass this law, where we are comprehensively, all of our electronic data is 100% by law mandatorily stored in some cyber fucking prison. I'm assuming after all this data is collected and we're watched around the clock, that we're going to live in a utopian, crime-free society where nothing bad ever happens. Because, I mean, that's the kind of overarching, you know, wide-reaching surveillance that they're putting on us. It is complete state fascism. They want this data to spy on us. They want this data to sell to Apple, to sell to Google, to sell to Amazon, so they can then push their products towards us. They don't want this to catch terrorism. terrorism threat is a lie. You've got one of the chief top spies in the country from MI5 saying that ISIS is not a threat. The Islamist fundamentalists 10 years ago, yeah, they were pissed off of us. Now they're just pissed off of each other. Can you not see they're fighting each other in Syria, in Iraq? They're fighting each other. They're not fighting against us. They want their own state there. They don't want an Islamic state in Britain. What do you think is going to be easier for them to achieve? An Islamic state in Britain where they've got to destroy a whole fucking establishment rule that the own people of Britain can't even overthrow? Or do you think it's going to be easier for them to set up an Islamic state rule in a country already full of Muslims? I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work out. They're not going to try and invade England, alright? They're not going to raise a black flag of Muslim over Buckingham Palace. This kind of fear-mongering is just state fascism. And the sooner people realise that, you know, the government isn't there for our benefit, you just assume that it's there for our benefit, but that assumption is what's getting countries throughout history into a lot of trouble, assuming that the rich, the powerful, the leaders, the elite are there for our benefit. Do not make that assumption.